Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Some people don't even know why they're still thinking about you. They've moved on, or at least they told themselves they did. They made peace with the silence, rebuilt their logic, talked themselves out of the feelings. But every so often, you still slip in, not through the front door, but like incense in a locked room. They don't even notice it at first, and then suddenly everything smells like you again. This is not just memory, it's God's interruption. There are people whose storylines were tied to yours, people who were supposed to stand beside you, but they didn't, because they weren't ready, because the weight of your spirit scared them, because they loved you from the surface, but never had the courage to stay for the depth. And now that your presence is gone, now that your energy has been withdrawn, God is stirring something they can't silence. They don't know why you're showing up in their dreams. They don't know why they can't find your replacement. They don't know why they feel empty around everyone who looks like they should be enough. But you know why. Because what you carried wasn't normal. Because what you gave was never casual, because what you embodied was a divine reminder, not of who they were, but of who they were called to become. And you don't forget someone like that, even if you try. Some of them did everything to remove you from their hearts. They distanced, they denied, they distracted themselves with noise. But God has a way of speaking in silence. There's a moment when the room gets quiet, when all the replacements start to feel like echoes, and the truth finally catches up, and it hits them. You weren't just someone they loved. You were someone God sent. You were placed in their life like a turning point, like a divine comma in a sentence that was about to run on forever in the wrong direction. And now, they remember you when it rains. They think of you in moments of stillness. They feel you in songs that shouldn't mean anything anymore. This isn't obsession. This isn't confusion. This is spiritual consequence. When you're a chosen one, you don't just leave footprints. You leave frequency. Your absence carries as much power as your presence ever did. Because what they felt wasn't just you. It was the God inside you. That's what they're missing. That's why no one else can replicate it. That's why moving on doesn't really move anything. Because your role in their story was never ordinary. And even if you're not going back, even if you've outgrown the space where they left you, your spirit left a crack in the timeline they thought they could rewrite. There are prayers they're whispering now that they couldn't say when they had you. There are apologies in their throat now that they used to drown in pride. There's an ache in their chest, and they don't even have the language for it yet. But you do, because you knew from the beginning what this was. You didn't need proof. You didn't need constant reassurance. You didn't need them to understand your worth in order for you to give love. But here's what's different now. You're no longer available in the same way. They didn't just lose a person. They lost an assignment, a connection that was divinely timed and eternally significant. And God won't let them forget it. Not because He's cruel, not because He wants to punish, but because when God sends something sacred and it's ignored, dismissed, or mishandled, it haunts in the holiest of ways. They thought they were letting go of you, but what they really let go of was alignment. And now that your presence is gone, the air around them is too quiet, not peaceful, empty, because people don't always realize what they had until there's nothing left to distract them. Not the noise, not the substitutes, not even their own pride. You represented something unspoken in their life, a doorway they didn't walk through, a future they weren't ready for, a mirror they turned away from. And now God keeps turning their face back to it. They see your glow rising. They hear your name whispered in places they didn't expect. They feel your energy again, not because you reached out, but because God never turned off the signal. This is what happens when someone tries to forget a divine appointment. You weren't sent to be consumed and discarded. You weren't a footnote in their story. You were an inflection point, a spiritual reckoning, a sacred reminder of the kind of love that could have changed everything if they had let it. Now they sit with the silence you left behind. Now they feel the weight of the version of themselves that never showed up. Now they wonder if it's too late to ever be seen the way you saw them. And here's the sacred part. You're not waiting. You're not looking over your shoulder. You're not stuck in the loop. You're not writing reunion stories in your head anymore. Because you've stepped into a reality where your love, your presence, your soul is no longer looking for a home that doesn't want to hold it. That's the shift. And that's why the pull is happening. Because the moment you truly detached, God allowed the full weight of your absence to hit their life, not as punishment, but as clarity. Because chosen ones don't just disappear, they leave wake. They leave stillness that speaks louder than closure. They leave light behind. And once someone's seen that kind of light, darkness feels unbearable. They're not haunted by the loss of you. They're haunted by what they didn't do when you were near. The words they didn't say, the fears they let lead, the masks they never took off. And that ache they carry, it's not romantic regret. It's soul recognition delayed. God is allowing them to feel it. Because this was never just about feelings. This was about assignment. There was something you were meant to activate in them. Not just affection, but alignment. Not just desire, but destiny. And now they feel the consequences of disconnecting from what could have called them higher. They feel the distance. They feel your spirit in rooms where you've never even stepped foot, because your energy marked their path, even if they never walked it with you. And here's what you need to know. You didn't fail. You didn't misread the moment. You didn't love too much, too fast, or too deep. You were simply the early arrival to a connection that required spiritual maturity, and they weren't ready yet. But now you're no longer waiting for readiness. You're not lingering in potential. You're not feeding energy into what if. You're walking forward with your head high and your heart intact. Because the lesson wasn't about holding on, it was about recognizing the difference between a soul tie and a soul test. And while they're wrestling with the memory of you, you're being prepared for the one who doesn't need convincing, the one who recognizes your frequency, not because it reminds them of who they could be, but because it matches who they already are. That's the love you're walking toward now. No unfinished business, no games, no spiritual tug-of-war, just presence, just peace, just alignment. But that doesn't mean what they feel is invalid, because what God is allowing them to experience right now is the echo of what they rejected. Not to torment them, but to wake them. This is the sacred echo, and only God knows what will come of it. But as for you, you've already done your part. You showed up. You loved well. You let go when it was time. You trusted that what's meant for you will recognize you fully, clearly, and without delay. And maybe that love is already by your side, holding you the way your soul always knew it should be. So now you walk, not bitter, not jaded, but clear, unapologetic, free, Let God finish the work in their spirit. Let memory do its refining. Let grace do its lifting. But you keep moving into the life where your heart is received, not misunderstood, where your love is held, not mishandled, where your presence is recognized by someone who knows exactly what it is. And until then, know this: you were never forgettable. You were never replaceable. And that ache they carry now, it's proof. God didn't let them forget you, because some connections were never meant to be erased. They were meant to be understood when the soul is finally ready. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If you found value in this message, please like the video and share it with others who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe and continue your amazing journey by watching one of the videos showing on your screen that resonates with you the most. See you there.